Welcome to Finding Certainty with your host and U.S. Army veteran, Patrick Laing. Over the next hour, you'll learn from Patrick and his expert guests how to attract more certainty into your business and your life. Now, here is your host, Patrick Laing.
Welcome to Finding Certainty. It's our favorite day of the week, and I've got one of my favorite guests on with us today. My friend and partner, co-founder of Certainty Global, and host of the Business Buzz podcast, and also Frankly Seniors podcast, together with me, Non the Bear DeRosa. Frankie, thanks for being with us today. I appreciate you jumping on and being a part of Finding Certainty with me today.
Hey, pleasure to be with you, partner.
Well, it's been a while. We typically do this about once a year. We get together and do a recap of the year and what's happening with the company. And I thought it was a good time for us to do that, especially because you're launching your new show focused on the senior market, Frankly Seniors. And I got to tell you, when you came up with that name, I just thought it was perfect. I mean, obviously your name is Frank, but there's some hidden meaning in that title that we're going to talk a little bit about today. Some symbolism in there, or layers, if you will, right? You know what I'm talking about. But I really appreciate you being on. I'm in Houston. You can see I'm not in my office normally, where I normally shoot my show, but I'm in Houston in a hotel room. I'm here for the CERAWeek Power Conference for the next couple of days. So got on a 1 a.m. red eye and got in here about 6 a.m. this morning. Got about 5 hours of sleep, and I'm going on adrenaline. So.
Well, I don't see any toothpicks underneath your eyes, but I get it. I've done a lot of red-eye flying.
Just bags and bags under my eyes, and you know how that is. That's kind of par for the course these days. We got a lot going on, and maybe not getting as much sleep as we can, but it's pretty exciting what's happening with our companies. I tell my wife I'll sleep when I'm dead, but she doesn't really appreciate that. But
That's actually a biblical term. Nobody dies, right? They go to sleep.
That's right. So, we've been working together now for several years, and watching the company grow into what it's becoming today, it's been very humbling for me, very exciting. I mean, every year we look back and say, look how far we've come in the last year. But man, as we look back and say, look how far we've come in the last 5 years, right? 4 or 5 years, it's night and day of where we were when we started. And we talk about this a lot. We had this vision of where we could take this Certainty Collective. Now it's grown into multiple companies. We have Certainty Management, our consulting firm, and Certainty Global, our technology joint venture firm. We have Certainty Holdings. We just started Certainty Veterans to help veterans access their benefits, and the list goes on and on. We're partnered in several other endeavors, right? That maybe we'll talk a little bit about those today. But it's exciting, and I use the word humbling because I don't think it's just because we're so awesome, right? It's not because we are the smartest guys in the room, or even the hardest workers, or the most talented. We have done 3 things well, and I think number 1 is we've surrounded ourselves by extraordinary people. Victoria Foster, Jill McCauley, Brian Pointer, Andy Tenney. I mean, this team we've developed in our building is just unparalleled.
Yeah, and I think it's pertinent to the fact that it's multi-generational. We've got white hair in this company, and we've got the mid-range, and we've even got the youth. And I think that's important these days because that cross-section of expertise, I think, is going to serve us well.
I think you're exactly right. It's interesting. Most of our team have gray hair or white hair. And that's been intentional, right? I've said from the beginning, I love hiring people in their 60s and 70s and even 80s because they have so many years of experience and such large networks. And our entire team has, as you know, has grown from within. Every person here was referred by someone else on our team. But we are getting some younger blood. We have Monica Thornburg, we have Connor Vickery, and Ethan Erber, and these guys that are younger in their 20s and 30s. And honestly, they're giving the old folks a run for their money in ways, right? Maybe they have more energy, but I don't know. But it's fun. It's fun seeing it come together. But I do think that's part of it. We've surrounded ourselves by really good people, and then secondly, as an extension of that, we've partnered with really extraordinary vendor partners. They too are great people, right? People that we've known for a long time. It's one of our rules is we only work with companies that we've known for a very long time, or we're at least referred to by someone we've known for a long time. People like Mark Barrick at Nuclo Group, and Tom Gazaway at Lencred, and Rob Hagan at Honor One Healthcare Ventures. I mean, they're just amazing teams that we are honored to represent, either through Certainty Management or through Certainty Global. And you go way back. You've been in business for what, about 100 years now, right? Give or take.
Yeah.
I would say 40. I know you have me beat by probably
55 to be exact. But anyway, go ahead.
15 of those, right? What do you think has been in your experience, just both as an observer and in the trenches with this? What do you think is the key to building strong vendor relationships? Couple, we've made a mistake, we've regretted it, we've had to backpedal, but for the most part, we've done really well. And I'm just interested, I'm curious to know your thoughts on that, because that is a very real sense our IP, right? The companies we represent, the services and products that we share.
Yep.
What do you think's been the catalyst for that, or the secret?
Exactly how you and I began. If we backtrack, we began together by you being a guest on my original show, Business Buzz, and then we just continued to build that relationship, capital R, which I basically have always, believed in my entire business career. You grow and you strengthen by growing relationships, And then that goes into what we've always talked about in this company, which is that law of reciprocity, right? And that law of reciprocity serves us well because not only do we, bless our vendors, but they bless us. And I think that that's, something that is long term. I think it's something that's viable, and more importantly, between the tenacity of the relationship and the ongoing ambiance of building that relationship, that's going to serve us well in the years coming.
Yeah, I really believe that. It's not, they say it's not always what you know, it's who you know. And I think it's definitely the case with the servant leaders that we've surrounded ourselves with, right? Both that we have within our team and that we work with as vendor partners. I mean, I mentioned a few names there. Jim Bland is another one. There's just Bill Gans with S3 and Kevin Winbauer and these guys they're just quality.
Yeah, and I think it's also, we're in the digital age now, Patrick, okay? What are we doing here today, right? This is all digital type of communications platforms, but we also take it even one step further. We've got a physical office on Rose Park Drive in Las Vegas where we can actually have physical meetings. And you, right now, are traveling the country, basically meeting with our teams, which I think is absolutely fantastic. And I think that, it's one thing to communicate, it's another thing to touch as well. And I do believe that touch point becomes even more important as we grow this enterprise.
Yeah, I believe so too. Bill and I joke about writing a book that says how I spent $5,000 to make 500 million.
Exactly,
Referring to the value of face-to-face marketing, because we went to this conference in Waikiki back in January, the PTC 26, the Pacific Telecom 2026 conference, and we were there talking about what we're doing with power for AI and data centers. And Adam Hancock on our team and I, last minute we found out about it. We booked the tickets and went within about 24 hours. And we came back with 127 new relationships. And many of those are growing into contracts and letters of intent and opportunities in this power space that we're now in. And that's why
Hey,
Bill
buddy,
said,
you're supposed to hang loose when you go to Hawaii. Don't you know that?
I spent about 20 minutes on the beach. I played
You know,
one
just
game
hang
of
loose,
City
just
Hall.
have fun. You know that one?
Yeah, right. No, but seriously, Bill is a big proponent of the fact that face-to-face marketing is where it's at. We've gotten so far away from it today with social media and Zooms and other things, but actually being there and pressing the flesh and meeting people and like being able to look in their eye and shake their hands and chat for a few minutes, we brought back a lot of business. It costs a little bit to get there, but we went there saying if we come back with one good customer, it will be worth it. We came back with 127 opportunities, right? And
Yeah,
so, and
yeah.
out of
And
those have evolved.
even though we're media, frankly, seniors will be coming up on this EvMux platform that you have right now with frankly seniors, and I think it's going to be very exciting because. Largely because I think the network that we're going to be affiliated with, which is the hat, that I'm wearing today, which is Vegas Live TV.
Right.
Frankly, Seniors will be a live stream, live TV show, okay, which is going to be amazing because Las Vegas alone has about 2.1 million senior population. I was really taken back by that. And Vegas Live TV has a major complex there, big, big building, huge parking lot, and you could literally film a Hollywood movie in this place. And what's really neat about it is my co-host Nina De Rosa, who just happens to live there. I actually tried to get her on with me this morning. Unfortunately, wasn't not able to reach her. But Vegas Life TV actually has her show up, right?
Right.
Ninan, and it's going to be just an amazing ride. I think between frankly seniors, Ninan by my side, and a senior community that is just absolutely, in my opinion, desperate for copy that is attuned to their wants, their needs, their desires, and more importantly, have the opportunity to speak back.
So I'm going to pull a Ninon and cut you off and say, hold that thought because I want to get into Frankly Seniors. I want us to dive into why you're starting it, who the audience is, et cetera, et cetera. So you're headed there. Give me a minute to finish our previous conversation, and then we're going to dive into that in depth. The
Go.
I mentioned earlier that there's three reasons I think why our company's growing so much. And we talked about the first one, right? The people that we've surrounded ourselves by, which includes our vendor partners. We talked about how we are really selective about the products and services and the vendor relationships we have and making sure because they are our IP, right? That's an extension of our team. It's our collective, right? It's our collective of certainty vendors, our certainty partners. I want to share one point, one last point though, a third reason, if you will. And you hit the nail on the head a little bit when you're talking about reciprocity. Reciprocity is really about creating mutual benefit, right? It's an abundance mindset. There's more than enough to go around. It's not if I win, you lose. It's we both can win. We both can thrive, right? We both can just access unlimited opportunity. I think reciprocity is at the heart of everything we're doing because everything we're doing has mutual benefit for us, for our vendors, our clients, the communities, et cetera, et cetera. Through it all, I believe that one reason that Certainty is doing so well and our team is thriving and the company's growing is because we entered it with this servant mindset, wanting to not just do business, but we wanted to do good. And we wanted to not just make income, we wanted to make a difference. And because of that, I've felt like we've been guided all the way through it. Right? I talk to the team all the time. You know this about listening to those impressions and those promptings that come and little things happen all the time. We get a thought, you get an impression, you have a prompting. If you listen and jump more often than not, it will move you in the right direction. I think it's because God knows what's best, right? He's omnipotent. He's overall. And I really do believe, on the record, that we have been guided in building this business. So I just want to wrap that last thought there before we get into the show here. But any thoughts on that, my friend?
Well, it's kind of funny, that there's an old saying that you got two angels on your shoulder, right? One angel's from God, and he says, "This is the direction I want you to go," and then the other angel's on the other shoulder going, "Are you sure?" Right? And so it's this particular instance and whatnot that I think we as a company right now are delving into some arenas that are in sore need of address. I mean, we're still coming out of a pandemic. We're still having a small business community that's still reeling out there. If you don't believe me, just simply go out on the streets. You'll see the out of business signs. You got the restaurant industry that basically is almost vanishing off the face of the earth in generational restaurants. So I think the platform that we're building for, across the board application, I think just doesn't exist out there today. And I think the sales force that we've got that is now multinational is well and able and suited and equipped to serve a lot of needs of a heck of a lot of people out there.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It really does feel like there's a higher purpose, right? Like what we're doing is inspired and being guided and being helped. We've seen so many just doors and windows that have opened up, helping us survive through the pandemic when we were just getting started, and when we had a need or we wanted to expand, we needed capital. It shows up, right? And I used to talk about it being ripple effects. Now I talk about it being a snowball effect because it's picking up speed and it's getting bigger, right? In fact, recently I called it an avalanche effect because it's almost unstoppable.
Yeah.
And you've been a big part of that, Frank. You've been in the middle of it. You've been cheering us on. You've been opening doors. I mean, our biggest opportunity, as you know, came from you. Our relationship with S3 Energy Development, what we're doing for power, for AI. I mean, that probably, I'd be very surprised if it doesn't eclipse everything else we do as a company in the years to come, just because of the size of the industry, the size of the jobs. Now, you made a really good point, though, and I think it's worth mentioning, is that we have placed ourselves through accident or through inspiration into channels or industries where there is an enormous need, and oftentimes an underserved need. Seniors that are being overlooked and not taken care of. We're creating opportunities, a whole podcast channels that can serve those needs, right? We've got an enormous need for healthcare in America, and we're meeting that need with our benefit programs and benefit airship and healthcare, or Honor One healthcare adventures and seniors home services, and then now with power, right? There's this enormous need. We are an energy company in an energy crisis, and so they say get behind a wave, but we are most definitely in the right place at the right time, and really in the middle of these perfect storms, and several that are
Yeah.
happening all at the same time.
It really goes back. I mean, every business owner out there, at least I had it, was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Yeah,
And Napoleon Hill said it very simply. He said, find a need and fill it.
that's right. Yeah, and when you incorporate reciprocity, where there's no winner, there's no losers, right? There's all winners. Then amazing things happen, and magic starts to happen, in my opinion. So tell me, as you've been an observer and a participant watching certainty grow, what would you attribute to it? I tell you what I think, the tribe we've built, the vendor relationships we have, and the fact that we are trying to do business while we do good, and in the process I think we're getting some help from on high. I really think I feel like we're being guided and helped and blessed in the process. But anything you would add to that? Any other insights that you think?
Well, you've heard the expression opposites attract. Okay. And
Yeah.
there couldn't be two more opposite people than the two that are on this show right now, okay? And I think, everything comes from the top down. I mean, I wish that's the way it was in Congress and the Senate and our government right now. Unfortunately, they're making a big mess of things. But the bottom line here is that we, you, me, we sat in a parking lot in Roanoke, Virginia, for about 2.5 hours, envisioned what we are now calling the Certainty Collective, and now it's coming to pass. And I think what's really amazing is, you take a look at, well, let's talk about the Bible. Apart from vision, my people perish. Okay? So the vision of this company is substantiated by two guys that stood in a parking lot in Roanoke, Virginia, and the talent that we have drawn alongside of us, the Andy Tinneys, the Dan Parks, the Irv Nelsons, okay, who are now, major partners in the firm. And I think that, you know, basically cross section of what we built, especially, hey, maybe I'm not going to be around in another 10 or 15 years, right? But this company hopefully is. And so I look at it from the aspect of legacy, and I think if we look at it from that aspect, we're doing well.
Yeah, I think of it very much like building a home, right? You have this vision of what it's going to look like. And maybe it's grandiose, maybe it's simple, but it's a vision of where you want to take it and how you want to build it. And in a very real sense, we built a foundation when we started Certainty Management. We've got Victoria Foster and Jill McCauley and Brian Pointer, David Klingo, this team, Elizabeth Deal, Mark Lepowski, these guys that had an idea and believed in it enough to get it started. And then we started growing, we started adding people, we started adding products, we started establishing our brand. And then you and I met. And you and I, in that conversation, we're sitting in Roanoke, Virginia. We were out there for the CEO Summit, remember, at Liberty University. And we said, we have something pretty special here. We have something we have a great team, we have a great foundation. We could take this and make it a household name, right? We could take this and make it international. We could take it and start turning heads and really change lives within our company and without. And I agree with you. I think we took that foundation and have grown it into not just a house but a mansion, right? It was going to be a cottage, and now it's a.
Well, take a look at it from the aspect, just the name of the company, Patrick. I mean, you've said it so many times. If you Google the word uncertainty, certainty, it's occurring hundreds, if not millions of times across this planet right now because of the way the world is. And so if you take a look at it, the aspect of a mission of certainty, our mission is to remove that U and N from in front of the word certainty and start putting certainty, just the same way as the show epitomizes, back in people's lives, because business cannot progress in uncertain arenas of activity. It just doesn't happen.
Well, and you know that we go back and forth a lot about, should we just pick one lane? Should we have one product that we build and we do it and do it really well? And that's how we started, right? When we first started, we had one offering, New Quo Group. We would come in and help people reduce their print copy contract costs, and people ask, well, what about shipping? What about merchant processing? What about my benefit? Could you help me with those? No. We said, we do one thing and we do it really well. Yeah. And we still do that service to this day. We've saved over $150 million for customers, and it's an amazing service, right? But we made a conscious decision to start offering additional services so that when that customer asks, well, what about this? What about this? Or could you help me in other areas? We could then say, yes, we can. And that was a big leap, because when you try to do too many things at once, you don't do all of them well, right? There's always going to be stragglers. There's going to be things that kind of fall.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we forget is that of all the things that we offer to a business or even a personal situation, these people don't have to get out their checkbook to participate. In many, many cases, we are creating found dollars on the table, not only to help offset the implementation costs of a program that we're putting in, but also creating a profitability, which just happens to be part of our tagline, profitability of found dollars back in the pocket of businesses. And with now the CARE Act basically being in the rearview mirror, the 3P loans being in the rearview mirror, government basically arguing about where the heck they're going to get their next budget as far as keeping the doggone doors open, it becomes even more important to find money for businesses and anybody else out there. And we know where to go get it.
That's right. We say all the time there are millions, if not billions, of dollars out there hiding, and we know how to help you access your share. And that's really what we do. If you're new to our show or new to our company, Certainty Management is a profitability consultant. It's designed, it exists to help our clients make more and keep more. And we do it in several different ways now, right? We have 10 divisions and, you know, maybe 30 or 40 different ways that we can put dollars back in their
Yeah.
pockets. Certainly Global spun off as if where we could focus the technology related things we do, and now we have a cybersecurity project, an identity theft protection, and senior scam protection service. We have a medical device, an alternative energy engine, everything we're doing with AI for data centers. So if it's technology related, we've housed it under that Certainty Global name. But I can't help but feel like as we've evolved, as we've expanded our focus, which does take focus away from one and spreads it across others, one of the things that has made it work, and you know this, Frank, is we've told our team to pick a lane. We've told them each to pick a product line, pick a service that you're passionate about, pick one that you're excited. Maybe it's something you have a good network for, or something that you have some background in. Be aware of the other things we do, but be focused on one specific product. And that will open the doors for you. That's what they're doing. We have some who are focused on our cost reduction, some on the benefits, some on the senior care stuff, some on the energy. And then it's easy once you help a customer in one way to say, there's a lot more we could do for you, you know. And usually they're asking us, right? Usually they're coming to us and say, well, you just saved me 200 grand on my print copy contract. What
Yeah.
else can we do, right?
Yeah. Well, it's the old saying, I mean, if you take a look at it biblically, and I sometimes look at marketing from that aspect, look at the Apostle Paul, right? This guy was raised from knee high, 8 years old, in the Jewish Sanhedrin. He knew the Torah backwards and forwards, right? And then all of a sudden, the Lord puts him on a donkey and puts him off to Damascus with 1,000 edicts to kill Christians in that neck of the woods, knocks him on his canny, blinds him, and then turns around, calls him. And does he call him to the Jewish side of the fence? No, he calls him to the Gentile side of the fence. Totally unprepared, totally uneducated, sends him out basically in the midst of, wow, I'm totally at faith with God. And what does Paul do? He goes into a town, he goes into a village, and he begins with the familiar. The familiar. Why does he do that? Because he wants to build trust. Once you build the trust, once the familiarity sets in, then you can move somebody to the unfamiliar. And I think that that is largely serving what we're doing right now. Okay. We are hitting the need in the aspect of here's the familiarity. We already know you got a problem. Okay. Now, what we do is we address it from that aspect, come alongside you, get in that type of relationship with you, and then suggest. Not necessarily override, not necessarily come in like a ton of bricks, but come in and basically counsel and get you out of the dilemma you're in.
Yeah, that's a really good insight. I had never thought of that as a metaphor for what we do, or an analogy of what we're doing, but it's spot on. And it happens like that, right? We tell customers, we go through our calculator, and we say there's several ways I can help you. Let's start with one. Let's start talking about how we can get your employees this free benefit platform and a guaranteed
Yeah.
issue life insurance policy, or let's focus on your benefit needs. Let's focus on you're a
Yep.
physician. Let's take care of your customers and get them free remote patient monitoring. You
Yep.
know, and out of that evolves much more. We don't cram it down their throats. We make sure they know there are additional benefits available, and it
Yeah.
just kind of evolves organically, right? It's
And
kind
the
of cool.
same application, goes to media. We own, certainty, finding certainty and certainty global. We now own, Business Buzz, and that's up on Buzzsprout and everywhere else right now. About 283 shows that I did for 4.5 years, and now we're going to be launching this, frankly, seniors, right? And
Yeah.
I think, when we look at it from that aspect, I'm not looking to take certainty product out like a deluge. Okay, I'm looking to look for that low hanging fruit in that senior marketplace. So
Right.
we're going to start with 3 products, and we can address that.
Yeah. We're up against our break. We're going to take a quick advertising break. Share with you. We talk about the benefits we have and some of the things we can do. Two of my favorites are our healthcare benefits that we have for our clients. So many are either uninsured or underinsured. We can help with that. And also one of the ways that we're trying to give back, we're trying to help nonprofits to raise funding. And we can literally do that. We can literally use what we're good at to raise unlimited funding for our clientele. So hold tight. We'll be back in a couple minutes here, and we're going to get into Frankly Seniors, the story behind it, what it's going to look like, what it's going to do. And I'm excited to unpack that with you here, Frank. Thanks again for being here, my friend. We'll be right back, guys. Don't go away. Here you go.
Certainty Management can help create more certainty in your life with our deep discount health insurance options, even for 1099s, part-time employees, volunteers, and more. Pay less to protect yourself, your loved ones, and your team. Call 888-684-3122 for a free quote today. That's 888-684-3122. Visit us on the web at certaintyteam.com. That's Certainty, TEAM, like Mary.com.
If you're a nonprofit in need of funding, we can help. Certainty Management is a cost reduction firm that also helps churches, schools, sports teams, and other nonprofits raise unlimited zero-cost funding. Best of all, you don't have to sell anything or ask for donations. Call 888-684-3122 to learn more today. That's 888-684-3122. Visit us on the web at certaintyteam.com. That's Certainty, TEAM, like Mary.com.
You are listening to Finding Certainty with Patrick Laing.
We're back. Thanks for giving us a quick break and checking out our benefit program and our nonprofit funding program. Again, they're two of my favorite things we do because they can help people in need, they can help nonprofits in need. We all know the more funding a nonprofit has, the more good they can do. And we figured out that we can use what we're good at, use these programs that can recover millions of dollars to raise unlimited funding for our favorite nonprofits. So, Frankie, talking about serving those in need, I think your desire and your goal to serve the senior population, of which you are one, right? But to serve them more is truly admirable. And there's a lot going on in that space. We're helping in a number of different ways, and I thought maybe we could talk about that a little bit and then get into the show. Just, maybe you could take a minute or two and address how Certainty, the collective, is helping seniors in general. And then let's drill down on the show itself, which is coming and which everybody's excited about. So,
Well, I think it lends itself to the fact that one of the things we're going to be doing, and I call it our roster of resources on the show, is to put out applications and some of our vendor relationships that can directly address senior issues. Okay, and one of those is going to be senior home services. The second one's going to be student elimination of their loans. Okay, those are the grandkids, right, of the seniors. And then, of course, beyond that is the living trust platform that we have with certainty. And those are going to be the first three that we choose to put on that roster resource and put out very seamlessly to the senior community where they can onboard and change their worlds. And I've said that, and it's even in the lead-in on the show. We are out to change their world.
Well, everything we do has this theme running through it, right? This theme of wanting to create more certainty in their lives and in their businesses.
Yep.
And we believe that one of the best ways to do that is help improve someone's profitability. That's why we help recover tax credits, we lower costs, we add in benefits and other things that can help drive more dollars to their bottom line. Specifically in the senior space, and you touched on 2 or 3 of these, but our relationship with Remote Care Today, Senior Home Services, but their Remote Care Today service provides remote patient monitoring, chronic care management, and the Brain Health Plus platform for seniors. Yep. That can truly bless their life. And like everything we do, or at least most of what we do, there is zero cost to the customer. Zero. I mean, it's all paid for by Medicare, right? So I love that. I love that that's available. You know, there's more and more coming on. We just had a meeting yesterday with Tom Markle, who has been on the show here a couple of times. He's the owner of SeniorityLivingTrust.com and also SeniorityMortgage.com. The Living Trust provides a living trust, a will, a medical directive, and financial power of attorney to families for less than $2,000. That is built by an attorney, right? Mm-hmm. For $2,000 to have those things in place and avoid probate and avoid the headaches and the expense that come from not being protected in that way, that's unheard of from a price point.
All sorely needed right now. All sorely needed.
I had an uncle and an aunt who passed away in the last 30 days in our family. Both of them passed without a trust in place, we came to find out. And now their family's going to be stuck in probate, probably $50,000 of probate in 3 years before they can access their assets. And it's so easy to avoid that.
Patrick, just take a look at what happened in the state of New York and New York City. The current new mayor proposed moving the estate tax exemption from $7 million to $750,000. Anything over $750 now comes under taxation in New York City. That is going to be a huge, huge, incredible upheaval in that senior community back there.
Yeah, it's nuts. You know, I see my elders, including yourself, but our first investor, Carl, our partner in our engine, Dalton, you know, these guys are in their 80s. They've worked their entire lives. They are the greatest generation, right? And they deserve to be taken care of and know that their estates, their assets, everything they worked for in their lives is protected, and they can be. And
that's exactly the reason why I birthed this show, Patrick. Okay, when I did my last show on 12/18/24, and I said goodbye to Voice America, basically, you know, I started rolling back into what we're doing, and then all of a sudden, I began to do some research on the baby boomer generation, and I was compelled, okay, to turn around and bring this platform forth because. And I think Ninan DeVere DeBrosa, my co-host, says it the best, and she's just eloquent at this. She says, Frank, do you realize that we are largely the forgotten generation? And if you AI that right now, you will see where the baby boomers are now being depicted as the forgotten generation. Well, guess what? I ain't going to let them be forgotten. I happen to be a senior. I are one, so you can't really argue with me. My co-host is going to be 83, okay? Soon. Shouldn't have said that. She's going to barbecue me for that. But the bottom line here is that we are seniors. We grew up in this generation. We know the ins and outs of it. I mean, I know everything from the, Haight-Ashbury to Vietnam to, I mean, you name it, I lived it. And more importantly, so did 76 million other seniors out there, which were now pared down to about 64 million. But right now, 13,000 people a day are turning 65 in this country, Patrick. 13,000 a day. And the
I know.
way we visioned that was picture Yankee Stadium, okay? Yankee Stadium would be filled every 4 days with the amount of people that are turning 65 in this country. And then when we did the show in June of 2025 with Montel Williams, we actually had that depiction of Yankee Stadium up behind us on the playback, and Montel got it, okay? He said, wow, that is absolutely amazing to think of that big of a market untouched. And right now, if you take a look at the senior community, we represent about 83 billion, time out, I can't even get it out of my mouth, trillion dollars of wealth transfer when we leave, okay? Right now, we represent 70% of the disposable income in this country. Don't believe it? Look it up. Seniors, baby boomers have tons and tons and tons of disposable assets. And who is really honoring them, which we intend to do, advocate for them, which we intend to do, but more importantly, get them on with this on this show. We want to hear what they have to say because they've been largely marginalized, they've had a mute stuck in their mouth, and that is going to end on, frankly, seniors. Seniors are going to be listened to and basically honored, and the tagline says it all. We are their trusted voice.
So let me ask you this question, because I've heard you say this several times, that they are more and more the forgotten generation. And frankly, seniors and seniorbucks.com, your new website that's coming soon, and some of the things we're doing at Certainty, we're trying to combat that, right? We're trying to make sure that's not the case. But why is it happening in the first place? That's my question for you. Why are seniors being forgotten when they are such a big part of the economy? They have decades of experience. They have families who love them. Why is it even happening?
I think a large part of it, my friend, is the pandemic. Okay, the pandemic, about 70% of your small business community out there was built by the baby boomer generation, and of course now they all expected that they were going to have an exit strategy to go and enjoy their retirement. Along comes something they never expected, hit them right between the eyes, called COVID-19, right? And all of them are still reeling from that. We're still in the aftermath of that. And so along those lines, you've got that in play. More importantly, your kids that they birthed, right? They're getting out with a ton of student debt, coming back home living with mom and dad. Would you say that's a disruption? Okay. And then the other side of the coin is healthcare, as you mentioned before, is a big concern with the senior community right now, because all of that is getting in play. In the fact with Obamacare and different things, with Medicare supplements literally pancaking and going out of business in this country. So there is a lot of this type of uncertainty, if you will, which we in turn to bring into the show format, in the fact of bringing that certainty back into their lives, answering these questions, presenting these solutions. And I think the exciting thing about it is because Ninan and I can hit this from the male perspective and the female perspective. When we did Montel Williams in that show in June, which he put up so graciously, actually wants to be on the show with us again, and he really enjoyed that balance, okay, of the show, hearing a woman's perspective and a male perspective. And I think by bookending that into the senior community, we're really going to be well served, and I think it's going to be very well received in the long run.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, my parents are in their 80s now. We see we call it the greatest generation, right? These heroes.
It
People
is.
like Glenn Copeland on our teams, 2-time Purple Heart recipient, Joe Olivetti, others who are veterans. We have several veterans on our team, as you know. And, I look at, we talked about them being forgotten a little bit. I think it's, to add to what you said, I think it's in part because of technology. We're not face to face like we were saying before. We're not getting together as often. It's all through phone and Zoom and so forth and so on. And I think it's hard to have as much of a connection through electronics. I think it's also that we're so busy, right? Life just comes at you fast and it doesn't slow down. I tell my wife I'll sleep when I'm dead. She doesn't appreciate that, but it's because we're busy, right? And yet I love that you are proactively working to address that and to counterbalance that. So much of certainty, in my opinion, in business and in life, is about balancing out the forces that beset us, whether it's costs and we're balancing the expenses, or maybe it's health and we're balancing the health needs by providing benefits for them. Maybe
and I think the success of the show is going to be upon the relationships that we built long term. Like I'm wearing a shirt today. It's a Senior Guide, if you can see it here on the playback. And Senior Guide magazine is probably going to be one of the biggest digital publications in the United States, if not the world. Okay, and they've ridden with me on my previous show. They're riding with me now. Actually got Montel Williams on the pilot from them, and we have many, many stars that are in the wings because a lot of these A-listers, actors and actresses, are old now, okay? And more importantly, they're looking for their own legacy application in their lives. And then beyond that is these other sponsors that I mentioned, Senior Home Services, this other particular student elimination program for student loans, and also the Living Trust. All of this is going to come into play, not to mention Vegas Life TV. Vegas Life TV, which is the hat I'm wearing right now, has a 54 million KPI. And shout out to Carl Magno, who's the founder of that amazing network out there in Las Vegas. If you want to see Vegas Life TV, you go to vegaslifetv.us, okay? And you'll see Ninon show up there right now because she is broadcasting across that network. And we will be soon. We're actually up on a promo right now with the show, with the backdrop and whatnot as we prepare. But I'm so excited about that because that is Vegas's TV network, Patrick. It is the live Stevie Tim network. All of the city council meetings come across it. The chambers affiliated with it. We intend not just to use this platform from the aspect of doing media as we're doing it right now, but we intend basically to do boots on the ground eventually, right? Get out there in the senior community, 2.1 million of them in Vegas. Go to a couple of senior centers. We'll make personal appearances, touchy-feely, listen to what these seniors have to say, get the feedback, bring it on the show, also bring seniors on the show who are in business, maybe taking a look at getting out of business, getting that exit strategy, or maybe some of their kids maybe want to be guests on the show or something like that because they want to be entrepreneurs or small business people. We basically are going to hit three markets: the existing baby boomers, their kids, and their grandkids. So this is a trifecta type of a show. We want to hit all three markets and serve them well.
I love that. When you talk about counterbalancing forces in the world, good or bad, dark or light, warm and cold, sickness and health, the list goes on and on. We talk a lot about abundance versus scarcity. So much of it starts with just a spark. It starts with one person having an idea. It starts with one duo, you and Ninon, for example, starting a show to bring things to light and get them talked about. And that's what we've experienced, right? We started with one product line, and then we added a second, and then a third, and it just started to evolve and started to
I should share something with you. Ninon actually shared it on the Montel Williams pilot show. She said that she had been praying to God and asking him, give me something in my latter years here, whatnot, that I can just be myself, right? And she said, along you come, Frank, with Frank Lee Seniors. So now when I'm sitting in front of my makeup mirror, I am not concerned about seeing a wrinkle on my face. And I'm not concerned that they're going to see it when I'm on the air, because I am a senior and I can finally be who I am. And you're going to see that genuineness come across from her when she's on the show, because she intends to have a ball.
Well, and I've seen it. I watched your Montel show. What an opportunity. And with the connection to Senior Magazine, or Senior Guide Magazine, I mean, they've had Henry Winkler on their show, and Dolly Parton, Kevin Costner, Kathy
Captain
Griffin.
Kirk.
I mean, yeah, the list goes on and on. It's kind of cool, and it's gonna be fun seeing it all evolve. Now, you talk about Ninon being in her 80s and how she wouldn't mind saying that. Most people wouldn't believe it when they see her. She looks like she's in her 50s, right?
She
She's got
certainly does. She's a
energy
catch.
of her 50s. Yeah, yeah, it's pretty cool.
No,
It's
I think it's so cool in the fact that, and if you want to get information on the show, you will be able to get it soon. Frankly Seniors, just remember that Frankly Seniors, all one word, .com. That is going to be the URL. Right now, I want to give a shout out to Jill McCauley, who's working on our landing page right now. And by the way, she will be an associate producer on the credits that we run at the end of the show. The executive producer of the show is going to be Nina DeVere de Rosa. Obviously, I am who I am, with Frankly in front of the word seniors. And of course, Carl Magno is also going to be a producer on the show with Vegas Life TV. And he is an expert at distribution and syndication. So stay tuned, folks. This could be absolutely amazing. He's got a 40-year background in syndication and distribution. This guy knows how to take it where we need it to go.
it's pretty exciting, Frank. It's just another example of this certainty avalanche, right? This snowball effect that is not only picking up speed but getting larger as we go. We're starting to receive a lot of recognition for what the company's doing. I was just in Dubai, gave a keynote speech in Dubai, as you know, about our energy work, and I was invited to come speak at 3 more in Vegas and Singapore and back to Dubai next year. And that's the kind of feedback we're getting. They're writing this up in articles. We're being asked to host additional podcasts, come and speak on stages, and so forth and so on. And I don't think those things happen unless you're doing something right, right? We're by no means perfect. We're constantly growing and learning and getting better, and I feel like we're making it up as we go along sometimes, just figuring out what works and what doesn't work. But I do see the fruits of our labors, right? I do see the hand of I think we see divine choreography going on in the middle of it all, and it's very gratifying, right? I'm humbled by the quality of the team we have, the vendor partners we have, the direction we're receiving. It's very exciting to me, and I can't.
I think we're living in times where we have multiple generations on the face of the earth, Patrick, and I think that's amazing when you think about it from that aspect, because seniors being one of the biggest birth generations, millennials are actually bigger than the senior generation, right? The baby boomers, they actually had more kids than we did. But I think the broad-based aspect, if you take a look at the boomer generation, we were a generation that was very broad-based, and I think even though you have the greatest generation that fought, for America in World War II, and we say that in the lead-in in the show, the baby boomers built America. They were the ones that really, really rolled up their sleeves, realized that they couldn't basically change the world overnight, with all of the Haight-Ashbury and the Make Love Not War and all that stuff. And we're going to address that on the show. But I think it's so exciting in the fact that right now they control 70% of the wealth, 70% of the wealth in this country. And I think to say that that's forgotten, I think, come on here, guys, forgotten when 7 out of $10 in people's pocketbooks today are controlled by the senior community. I don't think you'd forget that.
No, I think it may be a perception that they're forgotten, because they feel like that sometimes. Their kids don't come visit as much as they wish they did, or they're not involved in careers maybe like they were, and they miss that purpose in their life. That's one of the reasons I love our team and what we've built, because we're giving opportunity to these proven leaders. I mean, we have a guy on our team, Joe Brule, who just joined our team. He's been a CEO for decades.
Yep.
Irv Nelson was an attorney for 40 years in Vegas and a legislator. He's now on our team and a partner. That's the quality of the team that we're assembling. But I think that it's a little bit of a perception that seniors have been forgotten. I think And honestly, in my opinion, I think there's some responsibility to get up and get out. I say this all the time to our team. We can sit at home and watch TV all day or go play golf, but if you truly don't want to be forgotten, you truly want to continue to make an impact, you got to get up and go do it, right? And we've created that opportunity within our company. We have several team members who are in their 70s and 80s.
Yep.
But whether it's working with us or whether it's giving service or doing certain missions or starting another business or something, I think seniors have got to embrace those opportunities. Don't be afraid to do it, right?
Well, I know the need is there. I was going through a market the other day, and I turned back, and there was an older lady standing behind me, right? And she's looking for a bag, to put her groceries in. And I just happened to say, son of a gun. I said, you are a senior. I said, my name's Frank Helring. I'm going to be launching a show called Frankly Seniors, and it's all about you. And she says, oh, tell me more about that, right? So I did. And then I said, I think we're largely called the forgotten generation. And she looked at me and she goes, you're absolutely correct. And that needs to end now. She said, what was the name of that show? I'm going to be tuning in. So this is the type of thing that I'm running across out there. Just, basically happenstance, right? Run into people, got white hair in their head. I open up a conversation. And let me tell you something. There's a hunger in the land for what we're bringing, Patrick.
Yeah, there is. And anyone who's listening and wants to check in, you'll be able to find the show at franklyseniors.com. You also can find it at certaintylive.net. Find Finding Certainty at certaintylive.com. Find Business Buzz at certaintylive.biz. And we're creating a new landing page for the show. As you heard Frank say, Joe McCauley is helping spearhead that, but it's going to be at seniorbucks.com. The reason we've called it that is there are several ways to help put dollars back in your pockets. And if you're a senior, that's a big deal. Many seniors are on a fixed income. They're worried about rising costs and inflation and so forth and so on. And so on that landing page, it's not up yet, but it will be soon. You'll see ways to recover costs, to access free services, even help your grandkids. You heard Frank talk about the student loan forgiveness program. We can help if they're out of school, they have at least $25,000 in debt, federal student debt. We can literally get it forgiven in full. And so come back, keep following the show, check in with certaintylive.net and check in with franklyseniors.com, and know that there's going to be a lot of value to not one, make sure you're not being forgotten, and two, make sure you're finding certainty in your lives and creating profitability in your own life and business, maybe even some opportunity if you want it. So
I'll go ahead and put my phone number out there just in case you want to be a guest on the show, even though I'm not lacking for them right now. But if you're listening right now and you're motivated by this and you're a senior over the age of 65 and you want to get your message heard, you dial me direct, 949-742-0690. I assure you, text me your contact information, tell me what you'd like to say on the show. I will get back to you. You matter.
You do matter. We care about you, and we want to help you enjoy more certainty in your own life. Certainty is out there. You can find it. We can help. We're up against the hour. Thanks for being with us today on the show. We're here every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. You can find us on YouTube. Just search for Certainty Management. You'll find us there. There's lots of good things happening. We look forward to sharing them with you in the weeks and months to come. I wish you the very best. Have a great week. I will see you next week.
See you later.
Thanks for being here.
You got it. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning into today's episode of Finding Certainty. We hope you've gained some more insight into how to create more certainty in your own business or nonprofit. Join us next week for another taste of the Certainty Experience. Until then, we wish you greater certainty in all that you do.